Here we go, evil eye. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Golden Octagon MMA podcast. I am Matt Anderson. On the other side of your screen is Dorian Rose. I have a napkin in my hand. How you doing today, man?
Oh, we're
Dropping
doing
those
good,
hot
man.
bars on you.
Hell yeah. I was dropping the heat, son. But yeah, just a gloomy, rainy day. So it's been kind of like a kickback day for us. So, but been good, and coming off this past weekend, it was a super fun card, and this weekend we got a good main event coming up. So glad we're here to talk about it, man.
Fair enough. You were so hype, like to talk about the card Sunday, and then Sunday morning, man, you're like, hey, man, it's all right if we don't want to talk about it. What happened there, dude?
Well, I mean, just the lackluster main event and everything. So I was just kind of frustrated in the moment. So I was like, you know what? Maybe we should just maybe we could just hold off. And plus, like we were kind of talking about, wasn't really too much news. So could have just save it all for Wednesday and make it better anyway.
Indeed. So before we get started, let me give you guys a quick rundown of today's show. We're going to talk about this past weekend's fights, just quick hitters or the main key points. Next topic of today's show is the takeaways from the main and the co-main event. Where does each go from here? What's next from each? Next, move on to our fight news, fight announcements. You know how it goes over here. And lastly, our last topic of today's show, this upcoming weekend's fight card, Rafael dos Anjos taking on Rafael Fiziev. We got a Rafael and a Rafael this weekend. So with that being said, before we get started, if you guys wouldn't mind, please put a thumbs up on the video. We would greatly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, come on now. Help us out. Click that little red button down there. And any comments down below, greatly appreciated. We read them. We like to get back to you. I always message Dory, and I'm like, hey, there's a comment for you, Dory. So we'll respond to you. With that being said, let's jump into our first topic of today's show. This past weekend's cards, man. First off, our picks off the top. You picked Izzy. You picked Volk. Both correct. Me too. I did pick them. Oh, I guess kind of. I threw a maybe Jared out there, but that fight truly scared me like last week. And I was like, man, something about it just threw me off. But I was rooting for Izzy. Glad he got it done. One you did pick wrong on is Alex Pereira versus Sean Strickland. I don't know what you were thinking there. I saw that coming a mile and a half away. Not the feature, the fourth fight of the night, which was Brian Barbarina taking on Robbie Lawler. We both went Brian Barbarina there. And then the main event, the main card opener, Sean OMalley taking on Pedro Munoz. We both picked Sean OMalley, but nothing really happened there as far as an outcome because there was an eye poke. And then the one other one that we did pick opposite on was on the prelims. That was the Cowboy Cerrone versus Jim Miller fight. You picked Cowboy. You said he was going to head kick, knock him out. In the end, Jim Miller ends up getting the guillotine off of a slip on some crazy shit. So basically, I guess you can count me 2-1. You can count you, I guess 1-3 for the week. So that makes me this week's. Hold on, I gotta get it.
Boo. Boo.
This week's pick champ.
We need a recount.
Here it is, baby. Here it is.
We
this week's
need a recount.
Pick champ. That's what it is. And new, baby. And new. Make sure this is up the right way. Do you smell what the mat is cooking?
I'm gonna be like Triple H in the middle of the 5th round of the Adesanya fight and get up and just leave. I'm just,
dude. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy. I can't believe that happened. Yeah. So that being said, this week's pick champ is yours truly. I went. I guess if you want to be how I felt confident about. I went 2-0. Dorian went 0-2 with the Izzy fight on top. But I'm not going to break out the broom on you because I did kind of throw that Jared Cannonier in there just because I was terrified of that fight. But that being said, dude, let's jump into the main event. You said it was a huge letdown. Talk to me why and break it down for me.
Um, I really think the biggest letdown from it was a lot of the pre-fight talk going into it. Izzy's a very measured guy, so a lot of times, he tends to set the expectations on how his fights are going to go. So, when the Romero and Vettori fights were a little bit slower, he had admitted, rematches, they're going to be a little bit more measured in their approach. So, kind of expected a little bit more of a slower technical fight, and I think both of those fights weren't, of course, they weren't barn burners or all time classics, but they weren't bad fights. I just thought that this fight with Cannonier was on par with the Romero fight in terms of the action. And Izzy's pre-fight talk going into it was a lot of, I'm going to show off, I'm going to show out. He said it was going to be Anderson Silva versus Forrest Griffin. And look, believe me, like I mean, I am one of the biggest Anderson Silva fans you can find. So when you're talking about that, I mean, that's just giving me, it's giving me cold chills, and I'm super excited to see what he's capable of doing. And it just seemed like, honestly, halfway through that fight, it just looked like he just got bored. I mean, Izzy was in control of the fight for the most part. I thought that fourth round might have been a little shaky. And then I thought Jared won the third round cleanly. But I just thought for the most part that Izzy, he just looked bored during the fight. And honestly, I think, that ended up reflecting on the fans. And I don't know if it's just more, he just doesn't have the motivation. But I know they were talking the other day that, even the stats kind of back it up as far as, his output that he's been putting out in his fights as a champion as opposed to before he got the title. Because it just seemed like there were moments there when they were hand fighting. Now, I do admit that there was times where Jared Cannonier, he just kind of sat back and was kind of just waiting, almost trying to wait for Izzy. It was kind of like a weird thing that he was doing, because most of the time we know Jared Cannonier to be the aggressor, but they were hand fighting and Izzy popped him a couple of times with like an overhand left when he was standing in southpaw position, and he snapped Jared Cannonier's head back really hard. And I just figured that, maybe just follow up with a shot or two. But it's like he kind of just walked in front of him, and then he just didn't make another move after that. And it was just like he was kind of playing with his food for the most part instead of kind of putting his stamp on the fight. And yeah, I just thought overall he just ended up looking bored, and it just ended up really reflecting on the fans at the end of the fight.
I feel you on that, man. Like I just think like even you like had me hyped for it. You're like, oh man, Izzy is for sure going to finish him. I even had a few bets this fight going under 4.5 because I was like, well, he swears Izzy's going to finish him, and I was like, there's a chance that Jared Cannonier could knock him out. But it ends up going to excuse me, damn. It ends up going to decision. But yeah, at the end of the day, you said that you thought it was 2-2 heading into the fifth, yeah?
Well, I just thought that I thought it was 3-1, but I was just saying that with the way the judges score fights, and Jared Cannonier, he had some clinch control there on the fence in the fourth round, and now it wasn't for a substantial amount of time. But I thought that with the way judges score fights, there's a possibility that it could very well be 2-2. I thought personally it was 3-1, but you never know with the way judges score fights now, man.
Yeah. Also, I would say that I felt the same. Like I thought it was 3-1 going into the fifth. I thought that Jared Cannonier had the third round because that was the only round that in the clinch he was actually active in. He was kneeing, he was elbowing, he was throwing punches. But in the fourth round, it's like he was in the clinch, but he was literally just holding him there, doing no damage at all. And I think that has an impact into how it's judged. So that being said, I still gave Izzy that like that fourth round there. But overall, uh, I guess one of the things I just want to draw out of you there, because we did talk a few times now, but like you said that you wish that Izzy put his foot on the gas, because in the fifth round, like it looked like you he had more. You want to talk to me like a little bit more about that?
Yeah, no, I was just mentioning that, there in the fifth round, Jared Cannonier, he had a little bit of fence control, and it was about, I'm gonna say, probably 40 some seconds left in the round. And it was right after Izzy broke out of that clinch control. Man, Izzy all of a sudden just started putting combos together. And it almost reminded me of in the Romero fight, when Romero started throwing that little last flurry at Adesanya, and then Romero kind of started yelling at him after the fight. But Izzy was kind of saying that he had a lackluster performance, and it was just he had that burst of energy, and it was almost kind of flashes of the old him within that last 30 seconds of the round. Because I think that he thought it might have been 2-2, and he wanted to put his stamp on the fight. And it just seemed like at moments when he was bored earlier in the round, that last little bit of energy that he used to put his stamp at the end of the fifth round, maybe he could have put spurts of energy, and when he caught him with a shot, and maybe could have put Jared Cannonier in some serious trouble. But I just thought that he just ended up playing with his food at the end of the day. And I can understand that, maybe he's not getting the most excited for these fights or anything like that. He's still my favorite fighter, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm done watching him or anything like that. But just overall disappointed, especially when he, like I said, when I see that last 30 seconds of the fifth round, he's really putting his stamp on the fight, throwing combos and head kicks and everything. But and I even heard an interview with Eugene Behrman on Submission Radio, and he was even saying that, he said at the start of the fifth round, he even told Izzy that, hey, maybe you should go out here and kind of, try to put the pace on to put your stamp on this fight. Because, going into that fifth round, it sounded like he was kind of maybe thinking the same thing, that, hey, you never know with the way judges score these fights anymore. It very well could be tied, and, we need you to go out here and, put your stamp on the fight and show that you want to win. And he just looked bored the whole time to me.
Yeah. Same dude. I'm a fan of Izzy. Like, but I did see one I guess it was a meme, but it was also a stat that Izzy has the second like worst finishing rate out of all active current champions, only above Carlos Esparza, dude. How crazy is that? It's like, damn, dude, like I don't like what
Hey,
happened,
you know
dude.
the well, the crazy part is, Volkanovski is actually tied with him on that list as well.
I know, right above him.
Yeah, both at 33%, both 12 wins in the UFC with 4 finishes. But I can say that Izzy wasn't really the finisher, but he was just he would more style on them. But he would beat guys up for the most part when he would fight. And it seemed like he tried more tricks. Like, I even remember in the first Vettori fight, when Vettori goes to, and this was back, in 2018, Vettori goes to throw like a head kick, and Izzy dips back and comes back up, and he hits him with like a lead elbow. It's just like simple stuff like that, like the spinning elbows that he used to land on Kelvin Gastelum or Brad Tavares. It just seems like those types of tools that he has, that he's capable of using, he just doesn't do stuff like that anymore. And just the clean, exciting striker that he's shown throughout his time. And he's not the best power puncher, but he's never really been that type of finisher to begin with. He kind of takes it when it's there.
Fair enough. But both still fans, but kind of a performance that we're like, ah, damn, like we were just hoping that we got to see just a tad bit more flash from Izzy over Jay Cannonier. But let's move on down to the next fight. It's co-main event. Alexander Volkanovski taking on Max Holloway, dude. I just want to start off by saying I actually messaged you. I was like, was it after the second round or after the third round, I was like, bro, this next round doesn't need to start. Like that cut on his head is gigantic. It was like the size of the Grand Canyon. Like the whole Q-tip was inside the cut and the cut was closed and you could see no Q-tip, bro. It's like that shit could have been over then and we didn't need the extra 2 rounds because it was just more of the same shit over and over. I'm not saying it 100% needed to be stopped, but I'm saying we got the same outcome no matter what. It wasn't changing. The first round of Max's was the best round and he still got his ass whooped then. Dude, I don't know what happened. I don't know if the age is maybe kind of catching up to Max, or if the damage, or if what is it, like fucking city kickboxing just has that game plan dialed in. Alexander Volkanovski is a absolute fucking murder and he's just that damn good. Dude, something's up. I don't know, dude. I was rooting for Max, but me and you did pick both Alexander Volkanovski. Talk to me there, man. What do you think happened in this fight?
Man, I mean, I really just thought it was a masterclass overall, and as you said, we both picked Volkanovski going into it, and I had just seen, throughout the first 2 fights, Max had his opportunities in that second fight, to really come away and win that fight, and a lot of people come away from that fight still thinking that he won. You can watch that fight 1,000 times and come out with 1,000 different answers as far as who you think is going to win each time. So it's really hard to judge it. But in the
reality, you have
Volkanovski. Yeah, no, exactly. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, you can go back and forth, but at the end of the day, Volkanovski got the dub. And I just said, man, if he had 2 cracks at him and couldn't beat him, I don't know what a third is going to do. And I understand that Max was coming off the Yair win, coming off the Cater win. I mean, that Cater win, he looked, unbeatable. I mean, he looked like he was Super Saiyan in that fight. But coming in this fight, it looked like he just could not get those Super Saiyan powers because, Volkanovski, he just seemed like he was one step ahead, and he definitely had the speed advantage. Man, it just looked like Max looked very slow, and I don't really think that was anything as part to do with Max. Max came into the weigh-ins pumped and ready to go. I remember, you had messaged me and said, man, Max got me pumped up, ready to go for this fight. I don't think there was anything wrong with Max Holloway going into this fight. I just think that Alexander Volkanovski is just that great of a fighter, man. And like you said, City Kickboxing, they got some great coaches down there. His coach, Joe Lopez, his head coach, that he usually trains with. And then they do some other time with City Kickboxing, Eugene Behrman and those guys. He has a really good team around him. He's just a super clean striker. And the crazy thing is, as the same interview that I heard Eugene Behrman talking about, so Alexander Volkanovski, at the end of the second round, when he hit Max with that shot that ended up opening up that Grand Canyon, he broke his thumb. So he broke his thumb on that shot. So from the third round on, Alexander Volkanovski fought with a broken thumb. And Eugene Behrman told him to basically, hey, we're not talking about this broken thumb anymore during the fight. And they did not talk about it anymore until the fight was over. And they ended up going and finding out that Volkanovski did indeed break his thumb in the second round. So Volkanovski, for him to fight with a broken thumb from the third round on and to pitch a complete shutout, I mean, that dude, he's unbelievable.
Indeed. So we will kind of talk about what's next for each of them in the next topic. But let's move on down to the feature fight of the night. One that we picked opposite on. You picked Sean Strickland here. I picked Alex Pereira here. Dude, I just thought Sean Strickland, dude, is, I don't want to say he's an idiot, but I feel like he was going to do exactly what he said he was going to do, and he was going to try to stand with him, dude. And just the way that he stands, man, like this, I just felt like it was open for a left hook. Like his chin is just open for a left hook, and just the way that he just walks forward, dude. I was like, if he does anything, he's gonna get hit. He actually basically got KO'd like Tafon Chukli did, like like fucking just a few weeks ago against fucking
Mm-hmm.
Carlos Alberg, because
Yep.
Alex Pereira was body, body, body. He faked one massive left hook, and like he like actually put his guard up. So he did one more. Fucking Sean Strickland went to parry it, and he just swooped it around for the hook and knocked him down from there. Didn't knock him out. What knocked him out was the two killer pinpoint accurate right hand straights on the way down, dude. One on the chin, one on the forehead, both lethal shots. What confused me was after the fight was over, fucking Sean Strickland got up and was like, "Hey, like I'm fine. Like, what's up, dude?" There was no chance he was fine, dude. He just got crushed. I guess you want to tell me why you thought Sean Strickland was going to win that fight?
Well, I thought that Sean was, man, and he does a lot of talk like before the fight as far as being the wild man, but once he gets into his fights, he's a very measured and a very calculated fighter when he goes in there. He's not going to go in there and get into a slugfest with guys. And he actually ended up posting a video on his Instagram after the fight saying that he had actually seen most of his strikes coming and coming into the fight, that if Sean Strickland had seen most of Alex Pereira's strikes coming, that he was going to keep the fight standing because he wanted to put the pressure on him to wear him out. So I thought he might have at least been able to get some clinch control, maybe work him against the fence. Even if you don't take him down, just try to do some old gritty stuff and try to wear him down. But he actually, as you said, came out there and tried to keep it striking with a world class kickboxer. And then you go in there and, like you said, left chin, or his chin was not protected at all for that left hook. And he was actually throwing a kick as as Alex Pereira was throwing that left hook. So he caught him on one leg. And I'm glad you pointed it out. Those two precision right hands that he ended up hitting him with after he hit him with that left hook was absolute money. Like those are some money shots for him to throw those consecutively as Sean Strickland is kind of standing up and then falling. That dude, Alex Pereira, he is an absolute sniper, man. I thought Sean Strickland was going to come in there and make it gritty, but man, you stand in there and strike with Alex Pereira, he shows you if you're not on his level, yeah, you're going to be out of there real quick.
It just kind of makes me question, like, um, I know he trains at Extreme Couture, good coaches. It just kind of makes me wonder, dude, like what was the game plan? Like you didn't even feint a takedown, you didn't even attempt a takedown, you didn't even try to clinch it all, dude. It's like you literally walked in there, stood right in front of a world champion kickboxer and got your lights put out. Like, what the hell, dude? Like, what was your game plan there? I truly don't understand it. Um, Still entertaining as hell to watch. Probably it's going to be like the majority of the other people in the fucking top 10. But Alex Pereira, I fully see him fighting for the title next. But we'll talk about that more in the next topic as well. But moving on down to the second fight of the main card, Brian Barbarina taking on Robbie Lawler. Kind of lost some money here, dude. I had a few bets. Brian Barbarina in third round or decision. I didn't think he was going to get Robbie Lawler out of there so soon because Robbie Lawler's tough as hell. Like fucking Brian Barberena tends to come on, as you saw. It starts peppering round one. Round two has a little bit more power, and round three he is fucking full blast until he runs out of gas. And he normally don't run out of gas. He just puts the pressure that whole round three. Me and you were both confident on that Brian Barberena by decision, but man, Brian Barberena crushes him round two, man. Talk to me here.
Man, this was, and as I said, going into the night, it was going to be fight of the night, and it ended up. I'm on the UFC website now, and it did get the post fight bonus for fight of the night, so it did end up delivering. Easy matchup, just as far as Robbie Lawler and Brian Barberina. two sluggers, and I'm glad that Robbie Lawler, I'm glad that he was able to get the love and appreciation that he was able to get. It seemed like the crowd was really behind him, and he had kind of got that legend, that veterans, type of welcome coming into the fight, and I'm really glad that the fans really showed a lot of appreciation for him. But Brian Barbarina, I did think that Robbie Lawler was going to be a little bit more shop worn at this point. I know Brian Barberina is 34. As I've told you, he's always in a slugfest. So his chin is going to come into play here soon. But I think he's got a little bit more left as far as a replenished chin as opposed to Robbie Lawler. But I did think that it was going to go to decision as well. So I was really surprised to see Brian Barberina actually get him out of there. And in that first round, I think it was Brian Barberina. He attempted like 190 strikes. What was it like, dude?
He
It's
took
absolutely
like fucking Nick Diaz's exact game plan, dude. That's exactly how that fight looked in the first round. And because everyone was like, damn, fucking Nick Diaz didn't look too bad. Brian Barberina took the same damn approach, dude. Just winging them out there. No power at all. Just throwing them, dude. Just throwing them. You could do this all day, dude.
yeah. Yeah, and Robbie's there to be hit. And I thought early in that fight, Robbie actually looked really good, dude. He was landing some vicious uppercuts against Brian Barberina. I thought that he was actually going to get Brian Barberina out of there. And even at the beginning of the second round, I think there was either an uppercut or an overhand left that Robbie hit him with, and he ended up getting Barberina to back up. So here I am thinking, I'm like, man, I thought Barberina was about to win by decision. He's about to get knocked out. And it was like it was like just a moment's notice. Brian Barberina just put the foot on the gas. But it was probably about like a minute left in that second round, and I think he ended up hitting him with like a big left hand, ended up hurting him real bad. And dude, when he gets people in the clinch, he throws those elbows. Like he just throws like leaping elbows, clinching elbows. He's just a dog with those elbows and was able to put the pressure on Robbie. And with 13 seconds left in that second round, was able to get him out of there. But I'm glad that fight ended up delivering on Fight of the Night. And that fight alone, yeah. I mean, I told you that usually at the end of a Barbarina fight, you're going to have goosebumps just because it's a crazy ass fight, and it absolutely was. It delivered.
Yeah, hell of a fight indeed. Hell of a fight. So let's move on down to the opener of the main card. Sugar Sean O'Malley taking on Pedro Munoz. Ends up ending in a no contest, dude, via eye poke. There was a lot of controversy around this fucking back and forth, but the doctor's report has came out now. He has a scratched cornea in his right eye, and that is the eye that Sugar Sean did indeed poke. But in the video, his other eye for sure, that shit was also swollen as hell. So he did get cracked at some point. What's up, man?
No, I was going to say I think that video, because sometimes when they end up getting posted, sometimes they do end up getting posted in reverse. I do think that might have been something that might have happened to Pedro as that video got posted.
That was my exact question. So I went on Pedro Munoz's actual Instagram, and it was on his fucking live, and the UFC was not backwards on his shit right above his eye. I'm like, oh damn, like fucking that was his eye. But like the other eye, like not the poked eye, that shit was pretty much swollen shut, like the one that everyone, I guess, fucking everyone's like he's like fucking faking it or whatever. I don't think he like fucking faked it, but I do think like the other eye that he got fucking punched in was for sure swollen shut. But anyway, that's not even have to do with the fight. Let's fucking talk about like the fight for just a second, dude. In my opinion, Sean looked good round one. I am fucking biased, you know. I got my fucking Sugar Sean hoodie still on. I thought he looked fantastic round one. Checked a shit ton of excuse me, burp again. Checked a shit ton of kicks, dude. Hit him a few good times. I thought he was just kind of getting his space, fucking filling him out for the most part. But I didn't think by any means like fucking Pedro like for sure won the round. But two judges had fucking Pedro winning that fucking round one, so that's kind of odd. who knows, like it had to have like been strictly off of just the pressure, because I don't really think that he was doing that much damage, if you ask me. But that's if you ask me. I'm a Sugar Sean fan, but I'm not gonna ramble on anymore. In the short round and a half of this fight, dude, what do you think happened here? And what I guess what are a few takeaways from the fight?
Yeah, I know the card ended in a disappointment. Sadly, it started in a disappointment as well. So it was like a good action-packed card got sandwiched in between two disappointing moments. But I do think overall it's hard to. I don't want to say it's hard to take too much away from it. I felt like that there wasn't really enough to be shown just yet. I do think that, for Sean O'Malley, I do think that he showed a lot of progression as far as checking a lot of the leg kicks. I do think he checked a lot of them. So we know that, a lot of people make the jokes about him needing to drink some milk and stuff like that. Like, no, he's going to be fine. He's not going to be getting crushed by leg kicks or anything like that. I kind of really just hated that it was almost seeming like the first round was like a little bit of a feeler round. I could tell that Sean O'Malley was trying to be a little bit more measured in his approach. He wasn't going out there and trying to throw the wild kicks or, going in there with, the spinning heel kicks or the, big leap lunging overhand rights. He was being a little bit more measured because he knows how tough Pedro is. So it seems like the first round was a little bit more of a feeler round. And as you said, the two judges ruled the first round for Pedro. I thought the second round he was looking a little bit better. Sean O'Malley, he was throwing the body kicks. He was throwing those like lead teep kicks to the body. And Pedro's body was red, like right around his abdomen. He was getting lit up with his kicks. But I just think that as the fight kind of seemed like it was starting to get warmed up a little bit, that's when the eye poke ended up coming in. And I just think really the main takeaway from it all was we just haven't really seen enough just yet of Sean O'Malley. Unfortunately, just the way the fight ended. I like the way the fight was going for him, but I don't know as far as, it's hard to even matchmake him to say, well, who do you put him up against next? Because I mean, coming off of that, you really don't know how to matchmake him as far as moving him forward unless you end up running it back.
All right. 1 point and one question. He did throw one like fucking spinning heel kick that like grazed him, dude. If that would have hit him, dude, I almost feel like that probably would have fucking put his lights out, dude. That would have knocked his head in at the stands, dude, because that shit came out of nowhere and it was lightning. He barely got his fucking guard up and it skimmed like off his gloves and the fucking top of his head. It was real close. And I guess you kind of hinted at it there. But my question was, do you want to see them run this back, or do you think they're going to move on from this?
I mean, I was trying to actually look at like the bantamweight division and see who you kind of like match him up with. I mean, maybe Rob Font. Maybe you can match him up with Rob Font, just because Rob Font, I think he has a loss to Cheeto and he has a loss to Jose as well. So, he's on a 2-fight losing streak, but also a guy that's up there to where, he'd be a good test for Sean O'Malley. But I do think that I think you could run it back, but the way the fight was kind of going, I don't really know if I'm dying to see it by any means, but it's almost like there's almost no direction to go with them, unless you do end up going the Rob Font route.
Fair enough. The next fight I see, they're gonna wait until after this Dom Cruz and Cheeto fight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I believe O'Malley will fight Dom Cruz because I do think Cheeto will probably win that fight. And I think they're going to feed Pedro Munoz to fucking Saeed, man. I do. They're like fucking Pedro is kind of on a like losing streak. He hasn't won in a while. He has a name. Saeed's unranked right now, dude. Nurmagomedov is going to fucking crush a Munoz next. I'm calling it right here first. But I guess anything else from the main card as a whole, dude?
No, that's actually interesting as far as the Cheeto and Dominic Cruz thing. We don't have to talk about it now, but we might have opposing picks on that fight. So little sneak preview for a show maybe a month and a half from now. So.
Indeed. So let's move on down to the prelims just real quick. I'm going to give you guys the results. Jalen Turner beats Brad Riddell round one via sub. Jim Miller obviously gets it done over Donald Cowboy Cerrone via sub. Ian Gary gets it done over Gabe Green by decision. Brad Tavares loses to Dricus Duplessis, and what I personally thought was the fight of the night over the Brian Bam Bam Barbarina versus like the ruthless like the Robbie Lawler fight. I did think the Dricus versus like the Brad Tavares fight should have got a fucking fight of the night, but I do think because it was on the prelims, it didn't get as much shine as it truly like deserved, because that was an absolute barn burner. So that was on the prelims. In the early prelims, real quick, Andre Muniz gets it done via decision over Uriah Hall in what was the most like, it was just a frustrating fight, because I almost feel like he could have finished him at any moment, but he only wanted the armbar, dude, nothing else. It was bananas. And I like me and you were texting during it, and you're like, dude, he's gonna get the sub. I'm like, nah, dude, he's strictly arms. And you're like, the rear naked's there. I'm like, nah, he's strictly arms, dude. Macy Barber gets it done via decision over Jessica I. Ends up retiring after fucking Jessica I. Also, Cowboy did as well. Shout out Cowboy. Also didn't fucking mention that, but Jessica Rose Clark loses to Julia Stolarenko in the fastest sub of the night. 42 seconds, dude, over Jessica Rose Clark, faster than the Jalen Turner submission of 45 seconds. So how crazy is that, dude? Quick subs all over the night. Anything in specific that you want to talk about of the prelims or early prelims real quick?
My guy Cowboy, man. Absolute legend. I kind of loved the way he went out. I thought it was a little bit weird that Joe Rogan was getting ready to interview Jim Miller, and he has his arm around his shoulder, and he goes, "Donald, are you going to do it?" And Donald's like, "Yeah." And then Joe Rogan's like, "I'll be right back, buddy." And then he tells Jim Miller, the winner of the fight, "Hey, let me be right back. I gotta interview the loser of this fight." So it just made me laugh, Joe Rogan doing that. But I did love the way the Cowboy went out, just because in the fight, I thought he actually looked really good, man. He came out, and I told my wife going into the fight, Cowboy tends to, within the first 30 seconds, you can kind of tell what kind of fight you're going to get from Cowboy, just as far as his energy and if he's starting kind of fast or not. And he started off with those front teep kicks to Jim Miller's body. He was really starting to light him up with those, and Jim Miller was not liking those at all. And he was throwing some vicious leg kicks as well. And Jim Miller had a hard time kind of getting in range, and he was able to land kind of a couple punches, but not anything too significant in the first round. A lot of times when he would get close to Cowboy would clinch him. Jim Miller would break, and Cowboy would hit him with a punch off that break every single time, like it was money. And even at the end of the first round, Jim Miller had a couple of submission opportunities against Cowboy, and Cowboy showed some really good defense. Ended up getting out of I believe, what was it, the armbar attempt. Ended up getting top position himself, and was trying to get a little heel hook there at the end of the round. So showed really good submission defense. There in the second round, he goes to throw the head kick, lands the head kick flush, but Jim Miller timed the leg kick perfectly. So as Cowboy is standing on one leg throwing the head kick, Jim Miller throws the leg kick, kicks his leg out from underneath him. And as soon as Cowboy goes to have his hands on the ground to push himself back up, Jim Miller is just super nasty with that arm in guillotine. He was able to grab Cowboy's head up super quick. Cowboy really tried his damnedest to fight out of that position. Kind of rolled with the submission for a second, but as Jim Miller said in the post-fight interview, he could do that in his sleep. But I do like that in that fight, Jim Miller and Cowboy were tied for the most wins in UFC history going into the fight. And now it's like Jim Miller can kind of take that baton and keep running with it. So I thought that was a really cool moment during the night. Love Cowboy. Love the way he went out. And Jim Miller, that dude, he's a dog, man. I mean, dude's got he's got Lyme disease too, and he's still doing this damn thing. So
Finally
yeah,
over it, but yeah.
that dude's a beast, man.
Yeah, indeed, man. Cowboy on to be a fucking movie star, dude. Shout out Cowboy. Hope you have a good retirement, dude. Always a fan favorite, dude. For a while, fighting 4 or 5 times every fucking year, dude. You need someone to fight, call up fucking Cowboy, dude. That's basically how Darren Till got his fucking name. How crazy is that? Was him being like, I want to fight Cowboy, and everyone's like, oh, Cowboy's gonna fucking crush him. Yeah, we know how
And you
that
know
went,
what's sad is that might be
man.
Darren Till's best win to this date.
I know,
So
dude, and that's pretty much the start of the run of the not the good looking Cowboy. He did have a few wins in between there, like fucking down at 155, but not too much up at 170, dude. 170 just massive dudes, dude. Yeah. One that I just want to mention real quick, Jalen Turner, dude, going to be a fucking problem for everyone at 155, dude. And we'll talk about it here in a second, but Alexander Volkanovski talking about like fucking moving up to like fucking like the 155. I'm not saying like he don't have like the skill to, but when it comes to like the size of people like fucking Jalen Turner, dude, it's like I'd really be curious to see how that would fucking go, dude, because it's gonna be like there's a 170 pounder versus like a 145er in there. Jalen Turner is fucking massive, and he is basically going to be an entire problem for the entire 155 of like the lightweight division as a whole. But that being said, dude, crushing all the Australians, man. Fucking Brad Riddell is a dog, tough, hard to finish, and Jalen Turner hurt him early with, I think, a jab, dude. Hurt him with a jab, and then fucking finishes him with, I believe it was a fucking guillotine as well. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, dude. Anything on this fight?
Yeah, Jalen Turner, that dude's going to be a problem. I mean, you said it all as far as the fight goes, but yeah, the way he was able to, I mean, it wasn't really much to fight to say to begin with. What was it, 45 seconds? But he landed
Yeah.
that big overhand right and that guillotine. That dude, he's super dangerous from everywhere. Like his last couple fights, he's gotten a variety of finishes as far as strikes and submissions. He's starting to get his flow in now. What was Brad Riddell, number 13, going into that fight? So I got to think that Jalen Turner is going to end up having a ranking next to his name. And yeah, that dude, he is going to be a problem at 155 for sure.
Just so big, dude. So the only other, or I guess two other fights on the prelims there. Ian Gary gets it done via decision. Not really too much of a takeaway. Gabe Green, pretty tough. But Ian Gary did just pretty much just keep his distance, as you said, dude. Just over like the 3 rounds, just outclassing him altogether. Anything on that fight?
Yeah, I just thought that Ian Gary, he really put on just a striking clinic, and I thought that he was a little bit more measured because Gabe Green is, like you said, super tough guy. He dropped Gabe Green a couple of times in that fight, and instead of getting wild and ballistic and going for the finish against a tough guy like that and getting countered, he was able to actually keep himself measured and approached and kept an overall clean performance. And he's just, I think, right now getting a lot of octagon time. Still, he's, what is he, 24 years old? I think he's 10-0 now. So this dude's actually still getting a lot of experience at the same time as well. So I don't know if people should be killing him because he's not getting the knockout in every fight. This dude's just getting a lot of experience right now and kind of developing his game.
Yeah, indeed. And what I consider to be what I thought was the fight of the night, Juricus versus Brad Tavares. Real quick before we move off the regular prelims, can you talk to me about like the mythical fighter of tired Juricus, just real quick?
Oh man, he's going to end up becoming one of those mythical fighters like Patient Francis, because they're in the first round against Brad Tavares. Looks like I told you after the fight, he was off for a year as well. He hadn't fought since last June, and I'm sure he probably had a lot of jitters going into the fight. But it seemed like that first round, he was just like a ball of nerves. And it just seemed like he was not under control by any means. And he was kind of sloppy. It looked like Brad Tavares ended up hurting him with the uppercut there in the first round and ended up making Dricus end up wrestling him for a minute. And I'm sitting here grabbing my head like, dude, what is going on? Because I was high on Dricus, his last couple of fights. I was saying this dude, he's actually really good. But there in that second round, it seemed like he was super tired, breathing through his mouth. Like he's not even breathing through his nose; he's breathing through his mouth. But dude, he just ends up lunging forward and just throwing these wild combinations. And Brad Tavares there, it actually ended up tending to break him as that fight ended up going. I'm not going to say that Brad Tavares absolutely folded, but I do think the pressure ended up wearing on him so much to where it slowed down his output, because it's like, dude, how is this guy this tired and still throwing the heat the way he was? Drake has had a lot of good combinations with his hands. He has a lot of good kicks too. I did not realize his kicks were as clean as they were, but he landed a couple of clean question mark kicks as well. And Brad Tavares' chin is something to legend, dude, because the shots that he took, that is going to put out a lot of people, and Drake has landed clean plenty of times and wasn't able to get him out of there. But I do think that could have been maybe fight of the night, fight of the night with Brian Barbarina and Robbie Lawler, then maybe another fight of the night performance bonus. I thought that could have been well deserved as well, because that fight was definitely a barn burner, and that was definitely something that we needed to see from Drekis is kind of get tested, and Brad Tavares is kind of like that perfect guy to test the young and up and comers.
Indeed, an early fire starter for the night, if you will. So, Andre Muniz, just basically just irritating, as I said earlier, dude. Anything on that fight?
It seemed like Muniz, he just got too content with going with them arm bars, man. But I guess that's just where his bread is buttered. But like you said, overall, had a little bit riding on that fight with to end by submission, so wasn't too happy with that. But overall, it was a good win by Muniz to beat a guy like Uriah Hall.
Yeah, Macy Barber over Jessica Evil Eye.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that Macy was able to get the win. I think that Macy, what's that? 3 fights in a win. 3 fights that she's won in a row now. So, she's able to kind of get off that skid that she had against Roxanne and Alexa Grasso, and she seems like she's starting to find her stride a little bit as well. Same thing as Ian Gary, both named the future. Both are getting a lot of octagon time and a lot of experience. I do think ever since Macy's been training with Team Alpha, she's lost a little bit of that finishing instinct in her. But one of the things that she does have is she tends to go hard in that third round every single fight. And almost like in that third round, it's like a lot of chicks can't keep up with her pressure because she ends up showing a lot of clean striking and a lot of wrestling, a lot of clinch work. Those elbows in the clinch, she is nasty with those elbows. She ended up putting that big old mouse on the top of Jessica I's head. And kudos to Jessica Eye for a good career and being able to hang on in the UFC as long as she has. But yeah, there was nobody more cringeworthy than Jessica Eye trying to get somebody to cheer for her, to say, "Here we go, Evil Eye, here we go." It's like, dude, not one person ended up doing that cheer for you at all. Like, I mean, God bless her, and she had a wonderful career, made a lot of money. But man, when she had that moment, oh gosh, I think the cringe, the goosebumps, I can't.
Yeah, fair enough, dude. Macy Barber's elbows there, dude, were just almost like Phil Hall's over Deron Wynn. Not as fucking lethal, dude, but Macy Barber's elbows, dude, were just lighting Jessica Eye all the way up. She didn't cut her, which was rather surprising because I expected her to cut her at one point. And the opener of the early prelims there is the blueprint out on how to beat JRC, man. If you have a solid armbar, can you beat her rather easily?
It does seem that way. And Julia Stoliarenko was actually one that hadn't had any wins in the UFC. She had 2 different stints in the UFC, and I don't think she's gotten a win in each one. So but that was actually a good win by her. And for her to crank her arm, she was definitely not happy with getting her arm twisted that way. But Julia Stoliarenko, that was a good bounce back win, because what she had lost, I think, like, what, 4 or 5 fights in the UFC, and it's like, man, if you come in the UFC and you don't win this one, I mean, how many chances can we keep giving you? So back against the wall, and to get a quick finish like that too, something that she definitely needed for sure.
Indeed, indeed. So that being said, that is this past weekend's fights. That's all of them. I am this week's pick champ. Don't forget it. I will remain this week's pick champ for the next 25 weeks. I said it here. Remember why I said it here on this day. The next 25 weeks, this is staying here with your boy. Dorian ain't getting it back. Shining this hoe up. All right, man. So let's move on to our next topic. Our takeaways and what's next for the main event and the co-main event. Alexander Volkanovski and Izzy. What's next for them? And I guess like the division as a whole for them. I don't know. Let's start with Izzy, man. Obviously, I think they're fucking making that Alex Pereira fight. Yeah, like they have to.
Yeah. At this point, the backstory. I mean, the winner of that fight was going to be the one to end up fighting for the title anyway. So at this point, it just only makes sense to put them two together. And then he had the backstory of Alex Pereira also knocking out Izzy in kickboxing at a time before as well. So yeah, that's just the easy matchup to make, and I'm not going to lie, I'm super excited, and as being a super Izzy fan, super nervous for that fight.
Yeah, just a tad, man. It's like, damn, like he's already done it, so we can't say, oh, he's fucking not gonna knock him out, or he fucking can't. He's already knocked him out. So
Yeah.
it's like, dude, I'm not gonna lie. Also, super scared, but it's probably going to be next in my opinion, if you will. But moving on to, I guess, the most interest, or like the more interesting one of the two, Alexander Volkanovski, dude, talking about for sure, dude, how he wants to move up to 155, but also defend both belts, dude. He says the guys in the division, you can't give them to me fast enough. I need more contenders. He wants to go up to 155 as well, dude. But as I said about fucking Jalen Turner, dude, I think when it comes to the size of some of these dudes, it's like, Jesus Christ. I think they might have some problem. But could you imagine just someone that like fucking not even high rank, just for example, Alexander Volkanovski versus Arman Saryukian, dude. He's not even like a massive 155er, but I almost feel like, bro, if you had 10 grand to put on that fight, who would you put on that fight? Like, it's
Against yeah.
like against Armin, dude. Armin's good as fuck against Alexander
Yeah.
fucking Volkanovski, dude. It's like, I don't know how he's going to fare up at 155. Like I couldn't be sold that like Alexander would win that fight, dude. It would be rather close. And like fucking Armin's ranked what, like 13 now? Like it's like he ain't even up there, dude. And it's like I just fear for just the dude. 155 is a fucking murderer's row, and I don't know many people outside of the top of the 155 division right now that would fare well in the division that's not currently there, dude. What do you think about him wanting to move up or like defend both belts?
I mean, I think that him moving up, honestly, I think the time to move up, if Charles Oliveira is going to fight Islam, I think the more redeeming fight as far as beating someone up at 55, and probably the easier matchup, as crazy as it sounds for me to say, probably would be Charles Oliveira, just because where he tends to fight with a little bit more danger. But I do think for 55, I think it would be harder for him to consistently defend to the 155 title. I mean, him going up in there against Islam, I don't know how well he's going to match up against Islam's wrestling. We know that Volkanovski's built like a built like a fire hydrant. The way he's so stout and strong and short, but he has such a great base under him, and he's a really well-rounded fighter, good striker, good wrestler. But I do think the guys at 55 are going to be just a little bit too big for him. I think 145 is that perfect division for him. If he goes up to 155, I'm not going to doubt this dude as far as being able to do anything, because he's never lost a fight except for at 170. So yeah, he's definitely a beast. But I do think at 145, you do have guys like Josh Emmett and Arnold Allen climbing up the ranks as well. I think Josh Emmett is actually deserving of a title shot right now. You can arguably say the winner between Ortega and Volkanovski, or Ortega and Yair Rodriguez, which I actually think Yair Rodriguez is a bad matchup, and Ortega, he just ended up getting pounded by him. So I don't know if I want to see Ortega that quickly. But I do think there are guys in the division at 145 that are coming up right now that are worthy of getting a title shot if Volkanovski isn't to move up. And I'd like to maybe see a Josh Emmett fight next.
Yeah, for sure. Two good fights. One fucking Josh Emmett, as you said, and one, dude, people are sleeping on Yair, dude. I don't care what anyone says, dude. Yair put the beats on Max in that fight. He didn't win, but dude, he had Max wrestling, dude, and Max don't fucking wrestle that often, dude. Yair has some paws on him. He's got nice, crazy kicks. He's got spinning back elbows, dude. Don't count out Yair Rodriguez. I don't think that like the Volkanovski would outstrike Yair. Do you?
No, but I think the thing with Volkanovski would be his wrestling. I mean, I kind of go back to like you said, Max was able to wrestle or Yair and was able to get a lot of success against him. And then you go back to Yair losing to Frankie Edgar back in the day. Frankie Edgar took him down and beat him hellaciously with some ground and pound. And Volkanovski hasn't really had to use it in a while, but in his early UFC run, he used a lot of his wrestling and ground and pound. And I think that Yair would be that fighter where Volkanovski kind of pulls out that wrestling. He's not going to stand and strike with him. I don't think he's going to be that crazy. I think he's going to be more calculated, but I think he'd eventually end up getting it down to the ground.
Fair enough. So, in conclusion, I feel basically like the same as you. I don't think he would fare too well up at 155. I do believe he could get a few good wins, but I think 145 is I like the division for him, and I do believe there's enough like fucking people there to fight, dude. Just stay down there, because I feel like at 155 you might end up getting your feelings hurt just against people that are just way bigger with equally as skilled. So that being said, let's move on down to the news and fight announcements topic of this show. So news and fight announcements real quick. I know you wanted to say this like last week, so like before it slips my mind, Kamaru Usman wanted to move up, skip 185 straight to 205 to challenge for the 205-pound title, but he was matching up against Jan Blachowicz in like the video that I saw, like you sent me, dude. Jan Blachowicz ain't the champion, dude. Yuri Prochazka is the champion. Like that was two champions like ago now. Yuri's a different animal, if you ask me. But that being said, other news and topic, we got Miranda Maverick returning to take on Shayna Young on August 20th. We got Angie Overkill Hill taking on Luby Godinez on August 15th. We've got, let me just fast forward here. Yeah, not too many here. Ariana Lipsky taking on Priscilla Cachoeira, the eye poker. Remember, don't forget.
That's a good fight.
We've got Melissa Martinez, late replacement, going to be taking on Elise Reed. Remember, Elise Reed is a rather good striker, dude. She's pretty much down to bang at all times. And one that was just recently announced, sent it to you last night, or maybe even earlier today. Joaquin Buckley taking on Nazardane Imavov, one of my favorite fighters, up at 185, dude. Nazardane, a complete killer. Anyone that you would just want to talk about right there real quick before we move on, or the Usman thing?
That fight, the Ariana Lipsky and the Priscilla Cachoeira fight, I mean, that's not going to be headlining a card by any means, but might be a little bit of a banger of a fight. Those two chicks, they go in there and they throw leather, and that might be a sneaky fight of the night, depending on what card that is that fight ends up being on. And I think the Buckley Nazardane fight, them two being matched up, I think they actually the UFC, like as you said, they're not doing Buckley any favors by giving him, a lot of dudes that a lot of people don't want to fight. But that's one thing that I'll actually give Buckley.
It's like they're almost using him as like a hype train and derailer. They're like anyone that has any hype like behind them, they're gonna give them fucking Buckley, dude. It's like, man, I've seen these dudes crush people after people after people. But but fucking Buckley took Albert off the rails in his like fucking last fight, dude. But I don't like his chances against Imavov, dude. He's just so polished, so clean, and he knows when to put his foot on the gas pedal. And he's just a massive guy for 185 too, dude. Big guy overall. Sorry for cutting you off. I just just want to talk about
Yeah,
it.
as I say, Cena got excited there, but no, I was just saying that really, I just give Buckley all the credit in the world for taking the fight against a tough fighter like Nasruddin Imavov, because I figured that with the win streak that Imavov was on, that they're going to try to move him up the rankings, but seems like they're not able to really get a guy maybe above him to accept the fight. So Buckley is one of those guys. He seems like he's up and ready for the challenge to take on whoever it may be. So all the credit to him as far as taking a tough matchup with Imavov.
Indeed. Any other news or the Usman thing you want to talk about?
The Usman thing, I thought it was more just a joke, but honestly, I thought
I
that
think
he
he's
actually
serious.
size wise. No, they did it as like a joke because they ended up like laughing and shaking hands and stuff about it afterwards. I know that what's Ali Abdelaziz kind of said that, oh, he's going to skip 85 and go up to 205. Don't think that's really going to be a legit thing, but I did think that actually size wise when Kamaru stood in front of Jan, dude, that he was not really much smaller if he was smaller at all against Blachowicz. So that the size difference actually really surprised me there. I thought it was going to be a little bit bigger, but it definitely wasn't at all. And I'm not going to lie. I just looked at my thing, and I have about 20% left on my on my Chromebook as of right now. So
Yeah.
just giving you a heads up if I.
My phone is also I have 5% left. So let's go ahead and just talk about this next week, just real quick, dude. So just main card, RDA taking on Rafael Fiziev, Caio Bahayo, dude, a killer taking on Armin Petrosian, another fucking killer, dude.
Good fight.
That's gonna be a banger. Douglas Silva de Andrade taking on Saeed Nurmagomedov. Maybe earlier. I meant to say Umar. I don't know if I said Saeed for who's going to be taking on like fucking Pedro, but I mean Umar. Umar should fight fucking Pedro next. But anyway, Saeed is going to be taking on Douglas Silva de Andrade, dude. People count out Douglas Silva de Andrade, dude, but this dude is a ball of muscle, dude. He puts people's lights fucking out too. Watch out for that guy.
Good jujitsu.
Yeah. Jared Vandera taking on Chase Sherman. I believe the loser of that fight gets cut. And if it's Chase Sherman, he will be back into the UFC within 3 fights. Nina Nuez taking on Cynthia Calvillo. The loser of that fight might also get cut too, man. What do you think?
What's that?
Like the loser
I'm sorry,
of
I missed it.
like the loser of the Cynthia Calvillo like fucking versus like the Nina Nunez, that like the loser of that fight might also get cut too. Yeah.
Yeah, very good chance. I'm actually surprised that Cynthia is still in the UFC. I think she's on like a 3-4 fight losing streak herself. So yeah, I'm actually really surprised they got her in this position.
Just still young. And then Michael Johnson taking on Jamie Malarkey, dude. That one could go either way, man. Ayman Zahabi taking on Ricky Tertios. This is on the early prelims, by the way. Antonina Shevchenko taking on Courtney Casey. Cody Brundage taking on Trayshawn Gore. David Onama taking on Garrett Armfield. Kennedy and Zeshiku taking on Carl Roberson. And Ronnie Lawrence taking on, I'm not even going to try, dude. I don't even know how to say this guy's name, but that's a whole lot of letters that don't go together. But Saeed Yo Cub. Did you see it? Do you see that, dude? Yeah, I'm not trying that one
Yes, man.
until I at least hear that one, man. So uh back at the main card, real quick. You know who I'm going at the main card, dude. RDA is tough, former champion indeed, but I believe Rafael Fiziev, dude, is the new ilk, the new elite dude. This dude is an absolute killer, has lethal striking. If RDA does not get him to the ground, dude, I believe it's going to be an issue. And in RDA's past few fights, dude, he seems more of, I guess, willing to throw with dudes. I don't know if it's just because he didn't feel if he wasn't in any kind of danger, but I believe Fiziev gets it done here. I don't think that he gets the finish, although he could. I believe Fiziev gets it done here. What about you, man?
Well, you got to think with RDA, actually, his last two opponents, some people might not think about it at 155.
Was
Both of his,
Moicano, yeah.
Moicano and Paul Felder, but they both were last minute replacements. If if you don't remember, I think that Dos Anjos was supposed to fight Fiziev on a pay-per-view earlier in the year, and Fiziev ended up getting COVID, so that's when he ended up fighting Renato Moicano on like a week's notice or something like that. And he ended up fighting Paul Felder on like 2 days' notice after he was supposed to fight Islam, and Islam ended up pulling out because I think he ended up getting COVID. So something going on in the RDA camp over there with everybody getting COVID before the fights. But no, I actually think that he really didn't use his striking because he was actually, or he didn't use his grappling because he was at the position where he had the more gas tank than the two fighters that he was going up against in his last two fights. So if you take into account them coming off a short notice, he's got a full camp to work in, and RDA's always had really good cardio anyway. So I think that he might be able to implement his wrestling a little bit more in this fight. I do think Fiziev, that dude is a thunderous puncher. His body work is insane. He throws some really good body kicks. That spinning kick that he caught Brad Riddell with. I mean, that was the thing of beauty, and you can just watch that over and over. And like, even though Brad Riddell didn't fall immediately, the kick literally froze him as it hit him. Like, it almost looked like it was like a glitch in a computer or something like that. Like, Brad Riddell just froze from the kick. But I do think that if we're going to do different picks, man, I think RDA might be able to actually grind them out. I do think that Fiziev in the Bobby Green fight, I still always go back to that fight to end that third round. I said if that fight was 5 rounds, I still think Bobby Green wins that fight. I think Fiziev, I want to see him in 5 rounds to see if he can really go the full distance. If he's able to go the full distance, I might change my mind as far as his cardio goes. But man, the way RDA has looked here as of late, I think I'm going to actually ride with RDA.
Fair enough. So our first opposite pick of the week, if you will, Dorian's going RDA. I am definitely going Fiziev. That's my boy. Probably my favorite fighter. Not as high known at fucking 155. An absolute killer, in my opinion. Next fight, the co-main event, Caio Bahayo taking on Armin Petrosian. Both rather new to the UFC. Caio Bahayo is just it's just odd, dude. He has like neck tattoos and like hand tattoos, but no tattoos anywhere else. It's just weird. Just only the spots where you can see when he's fully dressed. That's where he gets his tattoos at. It just seems kind of weird. But he's going to be taking on Armin Petrosian. Caio Bahayo 11-1, Armin Petrosian 7-1, dude. I kind of leaning Caio Bahayo. How about you, dude?
I think the same thing. I think Armin Petrosian, that dude, he really showed us in the Nick Maximoff fight in his last fight. We thought that Nick Maximoff was going to go in and do a lot of wrestling, and Armin Petrosian turned it around on him real quick and snapped in that, I believe, what was it, the Darce choke, and ended up, putting his lights out. That dude's arms are freaking jacked. But I think Caio Bahayo, I do think that he's a little bit more well-rounded. I thought in his first fight in the UFC, he looked very polished as far as his striking goes. And he's got really good jiu-jitsu game as well. So I think it's going to be really hard to take him down to submit him. A little bit more well-rounded, so I'm going with Kaya Bahia.
Just a big guy too. He's just tall and just a stout guy overall.
I think after this fight, he's going to be a guy to watch out for in the future of this division too, because he's going to be, if he's able to get a win right here, this weekend, I think he's going to be a guy competing towards the top of the division, maybe here soon.
Fair enough. Douglas De Silva de Andrade taking on Saeed Nurmagomedov, dude. Douglas De Silva 28-4 taking on 15-2 Saeed. I'm gonna ask you who you going for here, man.
I'm actually I don't want to say it's easy. Douglas Silva de Andrade is a dog. But I think Saeed, he's coming in. He's younger. I thought in that last fight against Cody Stamann, he came off a pretty long layoff as well. Saeed did in that last fight, and dude, he looked absolutely flawless. He landed that nasty spinning back kick against Cody Stamann, and Cody Stamann did not like that at all. Think he probably hurt him when he landed that. Goes in for the takedown, and he immediately snatches up a choke. And Cody Stamann tapped with the quickness because that lock must have been something of a death grip. So I think that Saeed, he's going to be younger, more explosive. And even though I know he's not directly related to Khabib, whenever I hear the name Nurmagomedov, I just automatically think they're going to steamroll anybody. So I do think that Saeed is going to end up getting the dub.
Fair enough. I'm gonna give you a chance to win this belt back this week, dude. Give me Douglas De Silva de Andrade here. I believe he knocks out Saeed, man. I don't know what it is, dude. Douglas De Silva, I don't know, dude. Every time he fights, dude, this dude throws with absolute murderous power every punch from round 1 to 3, dude. This dude, I don't know what it is. Give me Douglas De Silva de Andrade here. And I'm going to give Dorian a chance to win the belt back this week. So that's our second one where we are going opposites on here, dude. Jared Van Dare taking on Chase Sherman. I'm going to go Chase Sherman here. I do believe Jared Van Dare, this is going to be, I don't know if it's lost 3 or 4 in a row. I believe it's probably going to be lost 3. Chase Sherman, I just believe just better overall. Not quite as big as like fucking Jared Van Dare, but as a little side note, if this fight even happens, because Jared Van Dare's fights are always, it's like his fights always get called off because of him maybe close to missing weight. And it's like, bro, you weigh 265 and you're not in good shape. It's like, can you just get something under control just a little bit, just so you can make 265? Because it's like, bro, you weigh in at 266 and then like the fight's fucking caught off an hour later because all the doctors are like, yo, he's not in good shape to fight. Like, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck? I'm going Chase Sherman here. More well-rounded overall, more UFC caliber, in my opinion. Who you going here?
I know we keep disagreeing with one another. I'm a disagree with you this time too. I think Chase Sherman, every time I've ever favored him in a fight, he's always ended up losing. Going into this fight, I do think he's the more well-rounded fighter. And I do think that, if he's able to keep the fight standing, I do think that he's going to be able to get the dub. I do think that Jared Van Dare, he is able to get takedowns. And Chase Sherman is susceptible to getting taken down. As you said, Jared Van Dare, maybe he's not the most fit guy in the world, but he is a damn big guy. I think if he ends up doing a lot of his wrestling, I think this could potentially be a very boring fight if he doesn't end up submitting Chase Sherman. But I do think that Jared Van Dare ends up doing similar to the Alan Boudreaux fight from a couple of weeks ago. I think he ends up grinding out Chase Sherman and either getting a decision or maybe like a sloppy ground and pound or something like that. But I think Jared Van Dare gets the dub.
Safe bet here is for sure over 1.5, in my opinion. How about you, man?
Man.
1.5 safe.
Man, heavyweight. it's always tough telling. I would say that, but I don't think Jared Vanderaa, his last fight, I would have thought the same thing with Alexei Olenek, and did not happen at all. So,
Well,
yeah, that definitely scares me there.
I
And
seen
Chase
that
Sherman,
coming.
he's
That
got
was a
some power
matchup.
too. So
Yeah. Like the last one, like was a fucking matchup that I just saw that shit coming a mile away. It's like Alexei Olenek is for sure going to choke out Jared Vanderaa, and sure enough, that should happen. Yeah, but let's not talk about this one too much. Cynthia Calvillo taking on Nina Nunez. Is Calvillo still the favorite, man?
I haven't looked since the other day because sometimes I like to get on a lot of the sports books early, because if you can get on them early, you can actually get some pretty decent lineups. Or as far as the lines and stuff, as far as your betting. Now, I did see the other day, I believe Cynthia Calvillo was something like a minus 170
Minus
favorite.
minus 150 to plus 130, like for Nina Nunez right now on DraftKings.
Man, yeah, that's actually surprising to me to see that.
Yeah, I believe I like the Nina Nunez should get it done here, dude. I like fucking Cynthia Calvillo has done nothing but shown just pieces falling off and off in her fucking past few fights, dude. Just progressively just getting worse and worse, dude. Unless she fucking turns the corner, dude, here, I believe she gets cut after this fight, man.
Yeah. There's a very good possibility that either one of them could actually get cut after this fight. As we were saying, and it's crazy to think. I was actually looking at Cynthia Calvillo's last few fights. Her last win was against Jessica I. Can you fucking believe that fight headlined a card? So it was the main event of one of the COVID cards, I guess you could say, when they were doing the fights at the Apex. That is nuts. That blows my mind to see that Cynthia Calvillo and Jessica I was a main event against one another. But that was her last win. She's on a 3-fight losing streak. Nina Nunez, she hadn't really been that active since giving birth to the baby and stuff. Understandably so, you're trying to start a family, but she's kind of in a tough position herself. But I do think she's a little bit more well-rounded, and she should be able to get if she can keep the fight standing. Cynthia Calvillo doesn't have good striking at all, so I think that Nunes should be able to get it done.
Indeed, indeed. Michael Johnson taking on Jamie Malarkey. Pretty much how this one's going to go. It depends on which Michael Johnson shows up there. I guess Smart Me says Jamie Malarkey should get this done over the 3 rounds, maybe by late finish, but probably by a decision. He's got pretty solid wrestling and overall good striker overall.
Yeah, I do think overall Jamie Malarkey, he's actually one of those guys. He goes for the finish. He's kind of one of those guys that's not exactly kill or be killed. I know he got finished against Jalen Turner in his last fight, but he had 2 finishes before that going into it. I do think that Michael Johnson, like you said, depends on the type of motivation that he comes in with. But I still think at the end of the day, Jamie Malarkey's younger, more explosive fighter. I do think that he's a little bit more well-rounded than Michael Johnson as far as being able to throw kicks and strikes and being able to mix in the submissions and everything. So I think that going into this, Jamie Malarkey should be the favorite. And I don't know if you just actually seen. I just had some breaking news come across real quick, and Darren Till actually out and his co-headliner against Jack Hermanson coming up on the UFC London card in a couple of weeks. So one of the little ESPN updates I usually get on my phone when I'm doing the podcast, but that was one I figured would actually be contributable to the show.
It's because some secrets were revealed to Jack Hermanson via Comsat, because that whole debacle now that's kind of been going around now. That's pretty crazy, yeah, dude. But yeah. For sure. And then that is the main card overall. And then prelims real quick. We already have 3 different picks. Just any of these you want to talk about. Ayman Zahabi versus Ricky Tercios. Antonina Shevchenko taking on Courtney Casey. I believe that Antonina should probably hang it up, dude, if I'm just like fucking going to be honest, dude. It's like she's a little bit older now. She's not going to be the champion. She's not her sister, dude. She's not, I don't want to say she's not good, but She ain't that good, dude. Like, Cody Brundage taking on Trayshawn Gore of the Ultimate Fighter. David Onama taking on Garrett Armfield, Andy Kennedy, and Zechiku. I do enjoy me some Kennedy and Zechiku. If he can get out of that round one, dude, he's probably going to win, dude. But you can crush him round one. He just takes just a little bit of time just to get started. But once Kennedy gets cooking, dude, Kennedy and Zechiku is a problem. But he's going to be taking on Carl Roberson, one of the two there. Any of those you want to talk about on the early prelims?
I do think that Kennedy and Zechiku Carl Roberson fight, that's actually pretty low on that card because I think that has the potential to actually be fight of the night. I think those two guys have the potential to really bring it. Carl Roberson hasn't really been too much on his luck here the last couple of fights. Got absolutely murdered against Khalil Roundtree with that vicious body kick that he threw. But turning around and not getting any easier competition going up against Kennedy and Zechiku, I do think that and Zechiku should be able to get the win. But that, as long as the fight lasts, I think that fight actually has a lot of potential to be fight of the night.
For sure. Indeed, dude. So a few of them, dude. We got some different picks this week, but not much more here, dude. We've fucking been on here, what? Like about an hour and a half now, something like that. So another fucking grip this week, dude. But we'll catch y'all like fucking next week. I didn't even like fucking do like a change to cheddar like this past week. I fell asleep, but I did end up hitting a fucking solid bet, $2.50 to win like $105. Like it was like 150, 160, but the eye poke from the fucking Sugar Sean fight kind of ruined my shit. Like I was like, did you win any bets this past weekend, man?
Yeah, I've won a couple parlays. I think I sent you one early. It was like I placed one on Sunday. I got Muniz. I did all money line bets, but I got Muniz at like minus 250. Macy Barber at like minus 215, and I got Ian Gary at like minus 150. It was like an all favorite, but I was able to get them at a really good line on Sunday. I had a couple of small parlays that I had hit during the fights as well. I think it was like Jalen Turner, Brian Barbarina, and Ian Gary as well. So hit a couple of small parlays there and was able to pad my account. Not in the way that I was wanting to, but was able to get it lined up a little bit.
Indeed, indeed. He is more of the smart better. I'm more of the complete degenerate where he has like, three, the occasional 4-leg fucking parlay. My ass over here, I'm doing 9-leg parlays, 11-leg parlays, 14-leg parlays. But hey, this man can attest. I've hit them for sure. And when it isn't too often that I hit them shits, but when I do, I'm like, fuck yes, dude. Because I like usually spend like 50 cents to like $2 and I win like 100 to like $500, and it just makes it worth it when you finally do win. It's like in reality it's just probably like all my fucking bet money back from the just ever since the last time that I've won. So it just kind of evens out just to make it just to break even overall. But anyway, that's it from us here this week. I might do Change the Cheddar Friday if I'm depending on it. The card this week, I don't know how the odds are. I guess if the odds are good and I have some solid bets, I might fucking make a change of cheddar. But if not, then I will not catch you guys next week because I will be on vacation. Don't forget that, man. Because I don't know.
Shit, that's right.
Yeah, I will be on vacation next week, so I will not. There will be no podcast next week. But the week after Ortega versus Yair, we'll be back after there, dude. I can't wait for that fight. Super fucking stoked for Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. A fight that kind of scares me because I do enjoy both fighters, dude. Super stoked for the fight, but we'll talk about it in a couple of weeks when I'm back. But that's all from me. Anything else, Lauren, before we get out of here?
Nah, man, we should be good, man.
All right, man. Matt, Dorian, this is the Golden Octagon MMA podcast, and we will catch you guys in a few weeks. Peace.
Peace.